Panels, the main weakness on the government side is that they don't tell you what's currently happening in status quo, and they didn't provide any reasons on how it can be better on their side. So the government has failed to prove to you this burden of proof. On my speech as the leader of opposition, I will tell to you what's happening in the status quo and why it is more beneficial on both industries, and also what it can solve problems that I will state later on. But before that, I will give some responses towards the government side of the house. First, they said that it's unjustified doing for doing mergers and acquisitions because it limits to access when they expose the database. Panels do agree that when the merger happens, they will do the consent. And before they do the consent, of course, they will think about the risk and benefits and other things before they do it. And by thinking about this carefully, they will know that the things that they do is actually want to get more benefit. So what the government is telling you is not true. And second, the government side of the house also said that by using messages or by exposing data that they do on mergers and acquisitions, it actually harms the consumers. What the government tells you is wrong. Why? Because the company or the industry have the job to protect what the data of the consumers in the first place. So by saying that they will harm the consumers, it is incredibly wrong, and it is not proven, and it cannot be true. And what's more, that what can harm the consumers more is not this one, but I will tell you this. The problem is that industries want to be as successful as they can, and sometimes they can be too competitive, and this is the competitions are the one who that can harm the consumers. I will elaborate this more on my arguments. And we see that in the status quo, there are technologies and industries to do mergers and acquisitions. For examples, Tokopedia and Gojek, Facebook and Instagram, and Google and YouTube. The fact that they still do it until now proves to you that it brings more benefits and more than harms that the government said in the first place. Now, let's characterize the actors. The actors involved is that the technology industries, and we know that they do mergers and acquisitions to reach improvement in their industry and to gain mutual benefit from the companies or the industries they do acquisitions with. So with this characterization, we know that they do this because they want to gain more benefit, or they want to gain much more benefit than the harms that are stated from the government. Now, jumping to my arguments, why does the status quo or why does the status quo can solve the problem that about too many competitions? First, competitions between industries harms the consumers and workers. How can it harms the consumers? Because they compete and making innovations, the technology industries may set the settings too high, and their advancements, and these too high advancements will make users think that it's not effective and it's too expensive and it's too complicated, which makes users confused, and they will think that it's useless in the first place. And also, second, for the workers, they only do as what they are told, and then consumers get complained to them, and they cannot understand or they cannot solve them because they don't know what they're doing. So these competitions will actually harm. And also, let's see, if they do mergers and acquisitions, it help reduce competitions. How so? Because it lead to better environment created on the platforms. It is more practical and easier for users to use the technology. Let me give you the portrayal for this one. First, they buy things and can choose the way to send their package. For example, when Tokopedia and Gojek do mergers, these buyers don't have to think too much about if the Tokopedia and Gojek are separated, because when they merge, they can do this practically, and they think that it's a lot easier to just do it more carefully and more specific than they have to do it separately. And second, on Facebook and Instagram, of course, users can be friends from other platforms easier, and this will give benefits to consumers. And also, another benefits from to consumers is that when they buy package and also do it from the mergers, there are many discounts and promos that they couldn't get in the first place if there are no mergers and acquisitions that the companies do. And even if it creates less incentive to improve for the industries, it's okay because most industries have developed really good, and the feedback from coming from consumers are also good, which means that they actually has done their job. And this proves to you that why the status quo is good, and why these mergers and acquisitions should be done. And second arguments, why does the status quo is more beneficial for the industries, or why it doesn't harm. It's more beneficial because it doesn't harm the consumers. I said to you earlier that they have the job to protect it, and also the consent will be your decision, or the industry's decision, and they will think about the risks and benefits, and they will say, oh, it's okay. And the database that you share, and do know that the database that you share to the other industries when you do mergers is that you share the one which are crucial data to provide easier and convenience to consumers. It will share the statistics of what is currently happening, and it's not sharing the privacy or the private data of the consumers. So it's still valid, and it's still bring more benefit. And also it gives contribution benefits to the two companies, and that is why they do mergers and acquisitions. They won't sell data and create limits for the two, so they will not violate rules and any rights in the first place. So this is more beneficial in our side, and so I've proven to you why it's more beneficial in our side, and also why it can create better environment or no competition. So that's why we're pro to oppose. Thank you.